Biden was on fire, I tell you, on this speech.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We're going to have a great show for you today. What a state of the union. You know, I thought it was going to be boring. I thought it was going to be my friend bumbling through words. I had all these thoughts about what the State of the Union was going to be about, and it didn't materialize the way I thought it would be. It is amazing. And then when we look at what Sarah Huckabee had to say, she was like living in a different world. Oh, they want to change. They can't even define a woman. All these things that don't add a piece of meat to a person's home. Anyhow, welcome aboard Eric Hayes. Welcome aboard Bridge MCP. Welcome aboard Alistair Waters. Welcome aboard Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Welcome aboard Chris Mary. Welcome aboard Yvette Avery Herod. Welcome aboard Michael Rutnan. Thank you all for being here. You guys are the early risers, and you guys are numero uno in my book. All right, let's continue. Let's see. I'm out with mom for eye doctor's appointment today, following up on a little problem. Won't be home in time for the live stream, but at least we'll drop a couple of intro posts. Muchísimas gracias. Egberto, I'm sure you're going to talk about the State of the Union. Of course I'm going to talk about the State of the Union, my friend. Anyhow, Michael says, Slate. Dobbs was always just the beginning. A single judge could outlaw the abortion pill nationwide, and that's not even the worst of it. When the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in June, it promised to return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives in virtually every instance in which it has returned up to the people, which was mostly happened by ballot initiative and referendum. The people have acted to protect reproductive rights. Perhaps that explains why less than a year after the fall of Roe versus Wade, conservative activists are trying to put the issue of abortion in the hands of a single man for whom no one ever voted, a federal judge in Texas named Matthew Kaczmary. In the coming weeks, there is very real possibility that Kaczmary will single-handedly outlaw medication abortion in all 50 states, massively disrupting access to reproductive health care access that the entire country. Worse, there is a substantial likelihood that higher courts, including the Supreme Court, will let him get away with it. How one judge in Texas can affect the law in other states seems a breach of 10th Amendment states' rights, 14th Amendment equal rights, and other constitutional principles. I agree. Michael also says Gallup, half in the US say they are worse off, highest since 2009, reflecting on their personal financial situation. 35% of Americans say they are better off now than they were a year ago, while 50% are worse off. Since Gallup first asked this question in 1976, it has been rare for half or more of Americans to say they are worse off. The only other times this occurred was during the Great Depression and in 2008, 2009. By contrast, before the pandemic in January 2020, Americans were almost 3 times as likely to say they were better off. Let me tell you, folks, peer pressure also. I mean, look, inflation hit us and all these things, but we also had a pandemic. So we had a lot of things to put people in a negative point of view, a negative frame of mind. But also the other thing that puts people in a negative frame of mind is a constant harping by the right of how bad things are, even as they aren't. And the poor response that we give back prior to that hell of a response given by El Señor President Biden a few days ago. A few hours ago. Chris Mary, afternoon, everybody, evening everybody from Melanie Keelan. What else we got? Afternoon to the PDR posse, says Yvette Avery Herod. Bridge MCP says he did dupe them, easily done, but don't think they will follow through on something good for the poor and middle class, keeping Social Security unchanged. I know you can't. It's superfluous to trust that was for the cameras. They want to work behind closed doors to screw us all. We know that's how it works. According to the fourth quarter 2022 data obtained via Freedom of Information Act, request for Harris County Flood Central District, the San Jacinto watershed has fallen further behind other watersheds in flood mitigation funding on a number of measures since 2002. Okay, what? All right. Bridge MCP says, hey, Melanie Keelan and Alistair Waters is in the house. I'm scrolling down, folks, so bear with me. May Wood is in the house as well. And what else do we have? Okay, great. Our first video is my thoughts on Biden and how he did. Check this out. Biden was on fire, I tell you, on this speech. He really embarrassed the Republicans, both on the debt ceiling, on the debt, and on wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
My administration has cut the deficit by more than $1.7 trillion, the largest deficit reduction in American history. Under the previous administration, the American deficit went up 4 years in a row. Because those record deficits, no president added more to the national debt in any 4 years than my predecessor. Nearly 25% of the entire national debt that took over 200 years to accumulate was added by just one administration alone, the last one. They're the facts. Check it out. Check it out. How did Congress respond to that debt? They did the right thing. They lifted the debt ceiling 3 times without preconditions or crisis. They paid American bills to prevent an economic disaster in the country. So tonight I'm asking the Congress to follow suit. Let's commit here tonight to the full faith and credit of the United States of America will never, ever be questioned. So some of my Republican friends want to take the economy hostage. I get it, unless I agree to their economic plans. All of you at home should know what those plans are. Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy conversion. You know, it means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. I'm not politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you. Look, folks, the idea is that we're not going to be moved into being threatened to default on the debt if we don't respond. Folks, as we all apparently agree, Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? They're not to be stopped. All right. Good. We got unanimity. Social Security and Medicare are a lifeline for millions of seniors. Americans have to pay into them from the very first paycheck they started. So tonight, let's all agree, and we apparently are, let's stand up for seniors. Stand up and show them. We will not cut Social Security. We will not cut Medicare. Those benefits belong to the American people. They earned it. And if anyone tries to cut Social Security, which apparently no one's going to do, and if anyone tries to cut Medicare, I'll stop them. I'll veto it. And look, I'm not going to allow them to be taken away. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. But
think about that. Imagine if other presidents would have really challenged the Republicans the way he just did. I'm telling you, I'm amazed at the way he did it. I'm amazed at the way they came back. And I'm amazed at the way he said, sock it to you. Because you know what? This is it. I can prove it. And you guys are trying to take American Social Security and Medicare away. And guess what? We have it in writing. But guess what? Why don't you guys promise now you won't do it? And he got them to meekly stand up. I've never seen a president do that in the halls of Congress today. Kudos to El Senor Biden on this one. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to. Kudos to El Senor Biden. I mean, what can I say? What can I say? I mean, I'm sitting down there saying, is he really going to sucker them into doing that? And they came on national TV and stood up and says, no, we won't gut Social Security. So of all of those who stood up and all the Democrats who, of course, are not going to do anything to Social Security, then Social Security changes that these clowns want to put into Social Security have no choice. Of course, Sarah came after that, and Sarah started talking. I don't know what Sarah Huckabee was talking about. Sarah Huckabee looked like she was pained. I felt so sorry for her. Talking about going to Iraq or one of those war zones and how powerful Donald Trump, well, she never once used Donald Trump's name. But interestingly, what she said, she talked about the sacrifice of these soldiers when Donald Trump said only suckers serve in the military. And he forbade his kids from serving in the military. Think about that. These are the kind of people we are talking about, folks. These are the kind of people we're talking about. It's shameful. But, it's interesting because, as it turns out now, I see some of the folks in the chat saying, wait a minute, they don't really want to cut Social Security. I think that's what Eric says, right? Eric says, no one is gutting crap, quit gaslighting. No, they all say they want to gut it. If you doubt it, I played a video years ago, not years, maybe a month. Let me see how long ago this was. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a video for you, okay? That shows you what I'm talking about. Because you guys don't like to believe, so let's go. This is Mike Lee, the guy that you saw in that movie. So once again, Republicans are changing their words as soon as they're trying to meet with the public. Remember, the Supreme Court judges said, we won't get rid of Roe versus Wade. But as soon as the Supreme Court judges assigned by the Republicans got into power and got their supermajority, what did they do? Overturn Roe versus Wade, even though they said they wouldn't do it. Well, they also said they were supportive of just about everybody. We passed President Obama, or rather President Biden went ahead and he got student loan forgiveness of only $10,000 and $20,000 if you have a Pell Grant. And what did they do? They blocked it. No support at all for the students who have been pilfered over the last several decades, right? Okay, now they want you to believe that, oh, we are not going to touch Social Security, even though Rick Scott, the RLCC chairperson, went ahead and wrote a memo saying he's going to sunset these programs, Social Security, Medicare, and all these programs every 5 years. And of course, Ron Johnson from Wisconsin said, we don't need to do this every 5 years. Let's go ahead and do it every year. And they say now, when they're facing the voters, oh, believe us, we're not going to touch it. We're not going to change it. Well, watch them when they're amongst just their selfish own. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Here is Republican Senator Mike Lee's plan for Social Security.
It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots and get rid of it.
Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee, who wants to uproot Social Security, is now running for re-election in opposition to Mike Lee. Last week, Mike Lee said this: I don't remember ever in any time since I first became a candidate for Senate ever saying, no, we just have to end Social Security and uproot all those expectations of those who've paid into it. Quite to the contrary. And of course, there's video of him saying exactly that the first time he ran for Senate.
It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots and get rid of it. People who advise me politically always tell me that's dangerous, and I tell them, in that case, it's not worth my running. That's why I'm doing this, to get rid of that. Medicare and Medicaid are of the same sort and need to be pulled up.
So as you can see, Lee wants to go ahead and change the Social Security laws now. He wants to not only get rid of Social Security, he wants to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid. So folks, remember when you're going to vote. Remember, listen to what they're saying. Believe them when they said it in previous times. Believe them, because they're going to do it. They said they were going to get rid of abortion. It took them 50 years, almost 50 years to do it. but they stuck with it till they got it done. The same thing with all our social programs, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. They want to get rid of it, and they will. They will get rid of it. They'll start by starving the budget, by force, and they already said it as well. That is on the negotiation table with the debt ceiling. So if Democrats don't want to crash the world's economy, you're going to have to allow us to cut Social Security. You're going to have to allow us to cut Medicare, and you're going to have to allow us to give those big tax breaks again to these rich corporations, because it's not like they are already causing inflation. Half of the inflation that's out today is money they're taking out of your pocket and directly into the pocket of the CEOs, executives, and shareholders. Your vote for any Republican says, please take my money. Please take my money and give it to the wealthy. Please do it. I want you to just sucker me. Take away my health insurance. Take away these. This is their belief. This is the standard libertarian type belief where we are governed by the corporatocracy, folks. They said that's what they want. Believe them. And that is what, oops, let me get that off. And that is what I mean, folks. That is, whoops, come on, I got to stop you. There we go. All right. And that is what I mean, folks. You had, what's her name? RTK or whatever her initials are, Mary MTG. You had her calling him a liar, liar, liar. But we gave them a pass. The reality is we had Rick Scott talking about sunsetting Social Security. We also had Mike Lee that you just heard say we need to get rid of it altogether. And then, of course, we had another one that I'm going to play you today, Dr. Vice President Pence, who also says it. So no, Mr. Eric, they intend to do it one step at a time. E2247, so keep Linda and Ashley even stronger so they can put up with you another day or two. Thank you, my brother E2247. Bridge MCP says Medicare and Social Security are not an entitlement. You must agree with that. They're not. We all pay into it. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Paul Fleming says the question is, why won't Republicans help make the programs we have stronger? No to funding the border. No to making Social Security stronger. No to eliminating sales of assault weapons. To police reform. The party of no didn't even have answers. The only answer they have is no, and that's not good enough. And not only that, they try to create divisions among people because they don't have the answers. So they want you to concentrate on the divisions among people, right? If I keep the divisions among people, they won't have time to worry about what's real. Eric has said they won't quit lying with false. No, they said what they intended to do. I just played you the video. What more evidence do you want of what they intend to do? But we'll take care of that some other time. Let's see. You won't have fund crap for real problems. Just create them. No, we fund for real problems. Everything that brother Biden is funding is real. If you don't see it as real, that's an issue. But it's real. Let's see what else we got. Lee Grant, welcome to Politics Done Right. I saw you come in somewhere, but I know I didn't salute you. So welcome, Lee Grant. There we go. Let's see. Eric Hayes says, lying no one is cutting crap. That I just played you the video. I like how McCarthy tries to shush his peeps after leaving a meeting telling them not to heckle. He knows he can't control them. E2247 says, Biden should have confronted Scottus on their support of Christian nationalism last night in two POTUS Abe Lincoln and Theodore Roosevelt did in their subtle address. Okay. Bridge MCP says, standing now for the camera, such liars. Yep. Okay, what else we got here? Anybody else want to comment before I go to the next video? Let's see. Paul Fleming says, the man Sarah wasn't speaking to us. She was talking to the aliens. with the space lasers. I hear you, brother Paul. I hear you. Bree says they said they want to change it. Yeah, right. Meaning cut it. What else have we got here? Any more comments? Let's see what we got here. Okay, scrolling down. We have you won't. No, I read that one already. Lee Grant says, replying to Paul Fleming, he says, we've heard from progressives on police reforms. They came up with defund the police. It didn't work. Nobody ever defunded the police. That's the thing. So it proves that the problems are already there. We are here now with James Rabichow. How you doing, James? Thank you for coming back. What qualifies a person to receive a Social Security retirement check is not paying USD in a payroll tax. What qualifies a person in receiving Social Security check, retirement check, is working enough credits. That is so true. I mean, that's true. You work enough credits, which takes at least 10 years. Now, it's true that you can't get credits without paying USD in the payroll tax, but there are plenty of people who pay the payroll tax who don't qualify for Social Security payments simply because they don't have enough credits. That is very true. So what qualifies recipients for old age cash survival benefits in a minimum amount of money of working? So what qualifies recipients for old age cash survival benefits in a minimum amount of working years? All right. I don't know if that's a question to me or a statement as a question. Bridge MCP, Lee Grant says, I'm hearing more and more about Christian nationalism these days. It's been there for a long time. They've always used Christianity as some form of, what can I say? Lee Grant says, no, I think I read that one. But he says, I know McCarthy tries to shush his peeps after having a meeting telling them to not heckle. They're not going to listen to him. Come on, you know that. All right, Paul Fleming says, I've come to the conclusion that some of our listeners aren't smart. If you have the answers in front of you, what's the problem? Did you even listen to the president speak? They didn't. Many didn't. All right, Sharkula Hairstylist. How are you, Sharkula? Nice to be here. Breaking news, Greenpeace rolled Sarah Huckabee into the Gulf of Mexico. Be nice. We're nice here. E2247, I tried to but failed of seeing all of Sarah's HS talk back. It was just too painful. I know it was painful, but I watched the whole thing. I also taped it. So maybe I'll just do it and then put it on there. Maybe I'll do that. Daniel Ledo says, Paul, you expect us to agree to your premise on cash of these issues? We do not. People, we are beginning to understand it is futile to argue the merits of a premise which we disagree. Why don't you support increasing gun ownership and loosening every law and remit? You want the Wild Wild West, I can see. Robert Cho says, it was not a question to you. It was addressed at you and others saying that we'd paid into it, which may or may not be true, but it's not it's not relevant to your qualifications for the benefits. We could just as well have earned benefits retirement plan that include the retirement to earn credits, but I didn't have a requirement to pay. There you go. Okay, let's go ahead and play our, is it time for a second video? Is it 30 yet? Yep, or a second video. This one is Michael Steele. You know, Biden gave a great speech when the former chairman of the Republican Party, Michael Steele, said he was pretty much left speechless because it turned out that Biden hit every single number head on. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I was surprised. Yeah. Republicans for a long time have talking about owning the libs. They got owned tonight by Joe Biden. He stood his ground. He laid out his agenda. He was very clear. He took the hecklers and he made America see what he's been trying to convey in a way that they probably had not seen or heard before. And I thought for him, it was a very good night. I was watching and reading conservatives and certainly MAGA folks on my Twitter feed just lose their mind.
Over what?
Everything. It's the complete package. I mean, just the repartee back and forth, the clarity of laying out what he did. I mean, the moment on Social Security is going to be in a loop, all right? Because everyone in the country knows, at least those who follow Social Security policy, and that means you're elderly and so forth, that Republicans had a plan that they ran on in 2022 to abolish, to sunset all federal programs, which guess what, included Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. And that was Rick Scott, Senator Rick Scott's plan that the party signed on to. And McConnell and others were like, I don't know, that started the McConnell-Scott loggerhead. And so it came home to roost tonight in a way that I think Biden now, getting on the trail tomorrow and days afterwards, can really drive that message home. Who's standing up for you? I am. Who's shouting down the country? They are.
Again, what did Michael Steele said? The Republicans wanted to own the libs. Turns out that the old man, the guy that they like to call Sleepy Joe, El Señor Presidente, Joe Biden, owned the Republicans. And it was so obvious he had them on the back of their feet all of the times during that speech, even with Marjorie Taylor Greene shouting, liar, liar, liar. It's great because tomorrow when somebody says, what do you think about Marjorie Greene calling you a liar? Yes, who's the liar? Here's the evidence. Here is the evidence. My God, I didn't expect this out of Biden. Again, was combative. It was trying to hold you close, but drag you in because I know. I mean, the thing about it is, I wish Republican or Democratic presidents had done this long time ago because the sheer evil that comes out of Republican policies, you wonder what takes these folks so long to just rub it in. And you know, Biden did that without, he rubbed it in without twisting the knife, if you will. But he did. We spend a lot of time. But he did. All right, let's see. James Robichaud says, when you get a chance after the show, please read this. Thank you for that information. I think that in order to understand what our possibilities are, we must disaggregate the component parts of Social Security so as to adequately understand it. I think that is something that's of good advice. Thank you for that. Eric Hayes, let's go back to Paul Fleming says, breaking news, a white supermajority of the Mississippi House voted to have a separate court system and expand the police force within the city of Jackson, the blackest city in the nation that would be completely appointed by... What? That doesn't make any sense. Wow. That is most blatant. Okay. The R&R doesn't pay in. They get pension. Most people pay in to get SSD and SS and SSD. Now SSI is something you pay into. Hence, you get Medicaid, not Medicare. All right, Biden slated according to Shakula hairstylist. And okay, what else have we got? Lee Grant says, sounds like a form of police reform. Really? That's what it sounds like to you? Sounds like something else to me, but I've got to read it in more detail before I make any real comment about it. Okay, I have one more video, but we still have about 20 minutes or so to go. So is there any other item before I go into... There's something that I actually wrote to read, but I don't necessarily want to do it quite yet. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and play our last video, and then we'll move on from there. The president was wrong about one thing in that speech last night. He said it may not even be a majority of Republicans who want to get rid of Social Security as we know it. He didn't use those words. I'm paraphrasing here. But the reality is, if it's not just Rick Scott who actually put it on paper, what he wants to do with Social Security, as in sunsetting it and letting it come up for a vote every few years or so. We have Mike Lee talking when he's not in the purview of most of us, when he's with his plutocrats, talking about ridding ourselves of Social Security as we know it. We also have Mike Pence, who's likely running for president, who does the same thing. Check out what Mike Pence recently said.
And the truth is, we've got to have a conversation. I was a part of it when George W. Bush proposed Social Security reform in 2005. The time has come for us to have the kind of leadership that says to everyone that's got hair the same color as me, nothing's going to change for you. But to give younger Americans better choices that would also be better for the country, I think is an idea whose time has come. I think it's absolutely essential that we generate leadership in this country that'll be straight with the American people, that will take us off this trajectory of massive debt that we're piling on the backs of those grandchildren, and says there's a way back. There are modest reforms in entitlements that can be done without disadvantaging anybody at the point of the need. And actually, I think the day could come when we can replace the New Deal with a better deal. Literally give younger Americans the ability to take a portion of their Social Security withholdings and put that into a private savings account that the government would oversee.
Let's be clear. Notice what he said. Private savings account, meaning throw your money into the investment banking system that has created. You take a look at several of them right now. They're still fed by derivatives and they need cash right now. They'll just use the cash, our cash, to make themselves whole as they pilfer our money. But he's saying, let's go ahead and give the money to the investment bankers. But you notice what else he also said? The government, the savings account under the control of the government, which means, of course, here's the government that's going to be given to the Wall Street your money with the expectation that it grows. But guess what? If it doesn't grow, who pays the price? You do. When you have full, real Social Security, it really becomes Social Security. It is something not put onto the whims of a market system that too often fails most. Let's be clear here. This Social Security thing is not a game. It's not just a thing that Rick Scott put on paper, but most Republicans don't support. All Republicans support it. Yes, they stood up when the president dinged them and said, if you support Social Security, stand up and say you won't change it. And they stood up. But we all know their words mean niet, nothing, nada. Their word is nothing to the average American citizen. It is everything to the plutocracy, to the oligarchy, to the wealthy, to the rich. So be smart. Understand that this is not over. Understand that if these guys get the reins, they know how to paint beautiful pictures. And their beautiful pictures would put you in the poorhouse. And more than the poorhouse, it will mess with your health. And yes, Breach MCP, my eyes are red. I am tired. About the glasses, I know you like my glasses, but when I'm this close to the screen, the glasses kind of hinder me. You know, what can I say? But yeah, I am tired. I had a very long night writing up all these things. You know, I did a TikTok, a Facebook, a Instagram, all of that, including all the other videos that I did. So it was a long, long night trying to keep up with the SOTU. But I wanted to tell a story. You know, and to tell that story, I needed to have the pieces for other people, what they said about insurance, because I knew the lie was gonna be what Bruce sent me something with 10 lies that I couldn't find, that I need to that I want to look up, because it shows you how effective the right-wing machine is to spin misinformation. And he found a message that's doing just that I need to take care of. Anyhow, let's see what else we have. Chris Mary says, Maywood doing good, and you. Oh, that you're saluting each other. James Rubicho sent me something. He said, what different? That's a different conversation. Ledo says, you're really, to Paul Fleming, you're really obsessed with race. He wants him to go become an Afro supremacist. Okay. He's not one of those. Thank you very much, Daniel Ledo. He's not. Bridge MCP says, oh my God, not entitlements. It's already in a savings account. You just keep borrowing from it. You know, here's the deal. What the vice president was advocating is simple. He wants to take half of your Social Security money and throw it into the stock market. And notice what they said. Control a private savings account controlled by the government. You know, that's what he wants to say. So in effect, your government is going to give me a big Morgan Stanley or one of these big Wall Street firms money that all of us created or worked for, and give it to them to go and invest for you. Now here's the deal. Notice when they spoke about Social Security, a lot of people say, we got them caught. So here comes an article from Common Dreams that says, they can't be trusted. Advocates say don't buy GOP applause for Social Security. Republicans have told us over and over again that they want to cut Social Security and Medicare, said the advocacy group Social Security Works, which I've interviewed the president of that group here. One moment of applause doesn't change that. Congressional Republicans, that's not what I want to do. Get back there. I want to do that here. Congressional Republicans made a show of jeering President Joe Biden Tuesday night when he said during his State of the Union address that some of their ranks have expressed support for cutting Social Security and Medicare, and even some set the programs completely. As you guys notice, I showed you three leaders, including Mike Pence and Mike Lee. There it is. I don't think that's too difficult to figure out, you know? Yeah, a lot of Republicans want to get rid of Social Security. Liar! Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from Republican of Georgia shouted from the audience in response to the president's comment. After taking in the loud expression of outrage from Greene and other Republicans in the House chambers, Biden said that we will apparently agree Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? So tonight, let's all agree, and we apparently are. Let's stand up for seniors, the president declared, sparking applause from Republicans and Democrats alike. Stand up and show. Then we will not cut Social Security, says the president. The exchange and the bipartisan standing ovation that capped it off became one of the most discussed moments of the president's 73-minute speech. But Social Security and Medicare defenders warn that it should not be taken as significant that the programs are safe from Republican attacks, because they are not. They are not. They never are. Even many Republicans stand for protecting Social Security and Medicare, but they've shown they can't be trusted to keep that promise. The progressive advocacy group Social Security Works tweeted late Tuesday, Republicans have told us over and over again that they want to cut Social Security and Medicare. One moment of applause doesn't change that. And that is what we have to keep in our head. The pressure has got to continue because they work behind closed doors. And that's what we got to do. Okay, let's see what else we got here. James Rabicho says, man, again, just get rid of the artificial limitation on payouts and we'd be done forever with this fake solvency problem. Just strike out the passage in the early legislation that limits payouts to the quantity of FICA recipients and be done with it. It would be just like Medicare Part B and every other government program with no solvency issue. The problem is that Democrats have boxed themselves in here by constantly reinforcing the deficit mythology and the idea that the national debt is a bad thing. I spoke with Bruce about money and the debt, and about the debt not being the same debt that we have on credit cards. I explained that, or not I explained, Bruce and I spoke about that today. It's interesting that you brought that up, Robert Cho, because you're absolutely right. The debt of the government, a country with sovereign currency, looks nothing like the debt on a credit card at all. And that is what they try to conflate with us here. We got to stop it. That's why we can't do this, and that's why Democrats have drawn serious ire from many of us progressives, because Democrats keep promoting this deadly and dishonest and very self-limiting deficit mythology. Oh, if you were here, I'd hug you and kiss you, brother. You're absolutely right. I mean, so there was no disagreement with us yesterday. Eric Hayes says entitlement is all omnibus, which the Dems delayed because they don't like being on a budget. Oh God. Do you ever follow real news, Eric? Come on, brother. You know better than that. Biden should have promoted seeing the Pope, the environmental crisis, and frontline leaders in the letter, the Landato SI film. Okay, let's continue here. Paul Fleming says we are the only one that has balanced the budget. Name a Republican president who has. That is true. The last balanced budget occurred under President Clinton. So thank you very much. Economies do better under Democrats. Fiscal responsibility occurs under Democrats. But laissez-faire government starving policies come directly from the Republican orthodoxy. We didn't make this up. As others would tell you, look it up. That's all you got to do. Look it up. All right, let's see what else we got here. Coming down. Because in the words of Laudato Si, movement chair Lorna Gould, once you know, you cannot look away. All right, Eric says, Egberto, is your debt... Wait, let's see. Egberto, is your debt you keep using sovereign? No, my personal debt is not sovereign. Okay, come on. Don't try to be silly. Just try to learn. Let's just learn together. E2247 says the film is available with subtitles in English, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and French, and automatic for subtitles in all other languages. Dub version are also available in Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and French if needed. See tutorial about how to do it. Thank you. The Pope, the environment crisis, and frontline leaders. The letter Landato Si film. If you repost it, more persons might watch it. Okay, I will look into that, brother E2247. You should drop me direct when you want me to do something. When you're tasking me to do something, I would much prefer a direct message, like in either Twitter or not Twitter or the chat under Facebook or one of those methods. That way I have another path. All right, let's see what else we got here. Christian Nationalism Survey, I see that. Nanette Bird Smith says, Eric Hayes, you were asked to name a Republican president that balanced the budget, and he can't answer it. There are none. Nanette Bird Smith, none yet. We had a Bill Clinton who balanced our budget, but there were no Republicans who ever done that. Sorry. You know what? We always talk about projection, right? They sing, we want a balanced budget. We want to do all these things they want to do. But it turns out they spend more money. Because, first of all, they work inefficiently. Secondly, they work without a high degree of intellect to make them work as they should. And it's not that they can't. It's that they won't. That's all. It's that they won't. Bridge says, I ask you, Eric, to name what entitlements. Again, they can't. They can't. Paul Fleming says it takes a level of maturity to listen to others, then find if what they are telling you is true. Since since the listeners didn't seem to have visibility, but sadly, it makes the show funny. It does. I get you. I read you, brother. I read you. Who keeps increasing the debt? All of Washington. Oh God. Do you know? I think our servicing on the debt is what percentage of the capital right now? It's a large percent. Hey, Bruce Pollard. Bruce, I couldn't find your email before the show. I'm going to look for it and maybe we talk about it tomorrow. But what happens is I came home to a email jungle of hell. But you know what can I say? Bruce was in the studio for me today. Y'all can check him out as he had a whole lot to say today, which is very good. And sometime Alistair Waters is going to be in the house with us as well. And if Bridge MCP decides to come down, or if Eric wants to get in there, Lee Grant, I'd love to take the entire PDR posse, those that are here in Houston or those that will be traveling to Houston. I'd love to bring you here. I'd love to. All right. Wait a minute. How did you just read my comment? Say that you wholeheartedly agree. Say that you hug me if I was here, and then tell that other person talking about Clinton budget surpluses that was right, as if it was a good thing. Clinton balance. Let me explain, James. There are two stories. Oh my God! I know where you're coming from. Let me explain. In our politics, Republicans always talk about being fiscally responsible. All right, but the ones who are fiscally responsible, meaning they spend. Look, ideally, let me tell you first of all, Robicho. Ideally, whatever tax monies we take in would be tax money that goes out. However, with a country that has sovereign currency, if there are times when we don't meet the ebb and flow of, in other words, what we pay in taxes, we pay out, a budget deficit doesn't kill you because, again, you have sovereign currency. You can print money. And if you don't have a shortage, this is what I was talking to Bruce about earlier today. If you don't have a shortage and if you can meet supply, you don't have a problem with inflation, of inflating that based on scarcity. So, in effect, on the times that you don't spend, you spend more than you take in, it's okay. And the reason it's okay, again, it won't create inflation and you're keeping a vibrant economy. The idea that I'm talking about balancing the budget, it has little to do with your response and more to do with politics. There's a politics and then there's a science, and they are not all the times in concert. So when you hear a Republican talk about how Democrats are irresponsible on the metric of balancing a budget, it's a correct response to tell somebody else, how can you say that when no Republican has ever, in our time, has ever balanced a budget, but we have a Bill Clinton who did? Okay? Am I making sense, James? So let's not conflate issues that, yes, I think it can be conflatable, but let's not conflate issues. Let's not conflate the issue, because I don't think in this case there's any need to do that. We can, ideally, we do want, let's see, yes, Republicans always talk about being fiscally responsible, precisely the debate. People like you into dignifying the premise that government spending is bad. No, you again, don't miss the point. I am not saying government spending is bad. I believe I believe government spending should also have some relative type of redistribution in it. Because like I said, a billionaire did not earn the money. It's a aberration in our economic system that allows a billionaire to have a billion. So how do we recover that? We tax it out of the system and we spend it elsewhere. That's the deal. But to say it is more efficient economically speaking, based on the economic model that we have today, to keep those two ledgers in balance. Now, that said, it is also true that deficit spending, if you don't have shortages, is not a problem. Now, the other issue is as your total debt increases, your interest payments increase as well. Now, there are mitigating ways to get out of that, right? Print money and then get rid of the bonds. But it's not a complicated issue. It's a tedious issue to go through one step at a time. But given what you're stating, I know that you understand exactly what I'm saying, Brother James A. Robichaud. I was about to say Radichaud. All right? So I don't think we're in disagreement here at all. And about being something to brag about, it is a bragging point to tell Republicans that the only fiscally responsible president since that balanced budget is Clinton. I do think it's something to brag about, not because you and I know that deficits don't matter, but because it plays against the politics of the false politics of Republicans. That's the reason why, James. That's the reason why. All right, we are at 57 right now. I hope you have been enjoying the show. We have a lot of blogs out. I have a lot more to write today. Important blogs about State of the Union and how it reflects within our economics itself. I'm going to be doing that later on. I'm probably going to rest my eye a little bit first. No, I'm not saying the government spending is bad. It does not matter that you don't think that. You are saying that. No, no, no. Please don't do that, Brother Robichaud. In fact, I think you're new to politics done right. I think you're new to politics done right. I support government spending where it needs to be spent. Very well. I'm as progressive as they come. I am likely one of the most lefties in this room. So no, not at all. The mythology that you are promoting is much more effective at killing efforts of enacting universal healthcare tuition free. No, they are not. They're not. They're not. They're not. They're not. But you keep coming and you keep listening. You'll see what I'm talking about when it comes to the Green New Deal. Because in effect, you just outlined in the Green New Deal and saying and pretty much said if I based on what I'm saying, we won't support the Green New Deal, which is not true at all. Which is not true at all. But I just need to get out one piece of information here, and that is please support the program. Don't forget, James, you can support the program if you'd like to as well. Please support the program. And how do you do that? I am only going to put one link out again because we are out of time. I'm going to ask you to go to politicsdoneright.com/support and choose whatever method of support you deem that you can that you have the wherewithal to do so. James, don't... Yeah, we don't like to call names. We don't like to call names. We try to avoid calling names. But anyhow, please support us at politicsdoneright.com/support. I promise you we are frugal with your money and we work hard as everybody who's been on this show knows that we make sure to give you something every day, rain, shine, or snow. Very few times we take off. Because we like to keep the conversation going. John Smith is in the house. How you doing, John? Just so everyone knows, Social Security and Medicare are complete ripoff. That's not true. They're Ponzi schemes. That's not true either. But I mean, that's what the right wing will try to teach you. But you continue to come here and we'll learn together. All right, Brother Smith? All right. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics. Yes, Breach, I'll get some sleep. This is Egberto Willis. This is Egberto Willis. Politics Done Right is the name of the program. You guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. And you know how I finish. My name is Egberto Willis. It's Politics Done Right. And I am what? Tell me what I am.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.